This is for the boy moms and the boy moms only that's out here pulling this bullshit. Repeat after me. Your son is not your man.
Facts.
Okay? I'm going to say it again. Your son is not your man. I have seen with my own two eyes how little boys are forced into manhood at a very early age. They are forced to be protectors. They are forced to go out there and be providers for their family and their mothers, okay? They are forced at a very early age to provide all of this emotional support to their mothers, right?
Let me stop it right there. You know we're gonna have to spin the block so that we can get the full context. But I just gotta say that this woman is spitting. Of course, we're gonna put her profile and give credit in the to the content creators because we always want to give credit to the content creators. So that's definitely gonna be down in the description. Make sure y'all tap into that Teach Hanley. 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. And then on top of that, I want y'all to make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Now, I do want to say that I've coached a lot of guys. And one of the things I do in my coaching sessions is, I try to understand who the person is so I can figure out if I can add value into them or, whatever it is that they're trying to do because everybody is their own individual person. When we get down to the brass tacks of things, what I found is that for a lot of guys, not all of them, not the majority of them, but for a lot of them, they're son husbands. They're full adult son husbands and they cannot even detach themselves even for a little bit because the mother have now replaced the son as a form of companionship, even to the point to where they've become completely dependent on them financially in order for them to be able to survive. And so what that does is it prohibits the man from being able to live a full life. It slows him down when it comes to his relationships. It slows him down when it comes to him being able to level up financially because he's doing the work of what would be her husband because the mother had basically raised the son to be a form of a husband minus the sex. Let me spin the block and get it back so I can get the full context. I want to hear everything that this woman got to say, and then we're going to break it down line by line.
This is for the boy moms and the boy moms only that's out here pulling this bullshit. Repeat after me. Your son is not your man. Okay? I'm going to say it again. Your son is not your man. I have seen with my own two eyes how little boys are forced into manhood at a very early age. They are forced to be protectors. They are forced to go out there and be providers for their family and their mothers, okay? They are forced at a very early age to provide all of this emotional support to their mothers, right? I've seen how these so-called mothers are using their son's mind to manipulate them, right? Most little boys are crazy about their mother. Most of them have a connection, a really deep connection with their mother. I know because I have two boys. I'm a boy mom. I've seen so many of these so-called mothers abuse their sons, not only financially, but emotionally, right? I've seen so many women out here claiming that they got a man or claim that they don't need no man or claim that they married. They always so quick to let their man off the hook.
Because they raise their sons to be their husbands. Their sons is their companions.
But yet they want to run to their son for all of this emotional support, all of this financial support, all of this just stability, right? I also see a lot of so-called moms poisoning their son's minds, poisoning them into not really wanting them to move on with a woman, not get serious, not leave the nest, not be a provider, not be a protector, not be somebody's husband. They don't want that for their sons. They really want to keep their sons right where they at for their own selfish reasons. Your son do not owe you none of that again.
And that's a fact. And let me just say this. It's not even just for the men that wind up becoming adults that then become the son husbands. Their sons at a young age, and I'm thinking like even before they become teenagers and when they become teenagers, even when they're young kids, they're holding their sons in a way that they would want their husbands to hold them or they would want a man to hold them. And that's why you see, so many guys becoming basically emotional support animals for these older women, or it's so difficult for a woman to clear the hurdles of whatever standards that the mother set simply because there is no man in her life and she's using and leveraging her son, and then he becomes a form of companionship for her, and then he winds up resenting her when he gets to the point to where he comes to me and get coaching or something like that, or where he breaks away for whatever reason. Somehow his mind is unlocked to the idea that he is supposed to be his own human being. And it's so selfish. It's so selfish of adults. It's incredibly selfish of parents and mothers, single mothers in particular, that is raising that child for them. And I even hate when guys say, man, yeah, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of kids. I remember it was a guy that I was talking to, and this was years ago, probably well over 15, 16, 17 years ago. And he was like, man, yeah, man, I got all of these kids and I had all of these kids and I had all of these kids. And I said, man, why are you having all of these kids? Because, I know some of them is messed up and this one is going to be messed up. But I know that at least I got a better chance of one of them making it into the league and, taking care of me when I get older. And I couldn't stand when I heard older people or people say that they had a lot of kids so that was basically their retirement plan so that their kids can take care of them. We exist as parents to give our children the best opportunity possible and then be able to pass something down to them, not burden them or curse them with the idea that they then have to become, we have to become dependent on them for survival or become some kind of, leech off of their greatness. That's not what it's supposed to be. And so, I hated it on that in that lens. Now I see a lot of women not only raising men to be son husbands, but they raising them to be feminine, and they raising them not to be men, not to understand suffering, and they don't know what to do because they're not men. And then they become even more intentional, but they don't want to openly admit that they basically creating a generation of men that will never meet expectations, that probably will never get married, and is always going to be a son husband. And so they cripple them. They do them a disservice and they cripple them because you're not supposed to be an emotional support animal for your mother. Now, that does not mean that you should not honor and respect them. And more importantly, and this is the biggest lesson of this thing, they need their fathers. That's why when people come to me and they say, well, what am I supposed to go back to the man that loves you? Go back to the man that was willing to give you his life. Go back to the man that you opened up your legs to, or pick better and be accountable and responsible for your decisions. And that's why I'm so fervent when I'm having these conversations on Monday nights or on after hours or whatever. And these women and they on these panels or they come up and they say, yeah, it's all of our fault. No, it's your fault. You opened up your legs because men by default is accountable. But if you keep opening up your legs to the guy that's populating the earth and is getting all of these other women pregnant, what do you think he's going to do? You think that he's going to look at you as special even though he got 5 different baby mamas? It's crazy. And these women are having these kids out of wedlock, and then basically they turning these guys into their son husbands because by default, women look for companionship in whatever it is that's around them, whether it be an animal, whether it be a man, or whether it be their sons. And they don't want them to move out, and they don't want them to grow up, and then they try to prevent them from being able to go through things, and they make them interdependent, and then they teach them and they force them out there to be, the man of the house. And I hear so many guys say, yeah, man, I had to become the man of the house at this young age. That's trauma. That's trauma. That's what it is. And most of these guys, a lot of these guys never really fully recover from it. They never recover from it. And I know some mothers that's getting lazier and lazier because they son is doing this and doing that. And that guy, he don't even make enough to really be able to break out like that or be able to be taking care of you and him and whatever it is that he got going on in his life. I see it all the time. It is an issue within Western culture. It is a problem. And guys are becoming more feminine every single day, or they're being prohibited from becoming the man that they're supposed to be because the woman that is in their life is really their mother, and that is their wife. That is their companion by default. And it's not because of anything that they did or anything that they did wrong. And it's wrong. It's wrong as two left shoes. I'm curious as to what y'all think. Again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Maybe I'll introduce this subject in the after hours tomorrow. I'm out.